What's new in your world, my friend?
How's it going, Eric? Everything's good, brother. Just enjoying the process, and trying to enjoy every bit that I get working with these dogs, because we're all on borrowed time. And if you don't enjoy what you do, why are you doing it? Especially when it's a lot of work, like I was just mentioning to you a second ago. A lot of people don't realize how much work breeding and having this many dogs in your home actually takes. It's a lot of work, a lot of time that gets dedicated every single day, every single week. A lot of people don't realize how much work that takes. They think it's just breeding is going to be an easy payout, and honestly, I would say most that started for that reason alone, they're out of the game within the first 2-3 years. You never hear from them again. Because if you're doing it for that reason, it's very rare if you make it, if it lasts. You quickly find out it's way more work than what you're really getting paid out at the end.
Yeah.
But like I'm saying, I love what I do. I am really enjoying every single week, working with the dogs. It's always a new experience. It's always a story that I get out of it that will be with me for years, So I really enjoy what I do, whether I have the breeding my Cane Corsos as a goal or not. If I don't have Cane Corsos next year, this is something that I'm still going to be doing, is working with these hunting dogs. I just absolutely love it.
When people get involved in these dogs, they're not factoring in how much they could be making dollars per hour at a real job. Because when you actually count all the hours involved when it comes to raising dogs, breeding them, all that stuff, if money's what you're after, you're pretty much getting ripped off by dog breeding.
Oh yeah, I've done the math, man. Just funny enough you say that. I've done the math on that some months ago. Me and the wife just talking about, how it's like a well, that just keeps, the money just keeps freaking disappearing down this well, and you don't realize it, and then something happens. All of a sudden, you got to take a dog to the vet because it's something that I can't fix with, my little bit of knowledge in that field. So every now and then, you're gonna have to take a dog to the vet, something you weren't planning for, and everything now is freaking $2,000, $3,000, and you quickly realize, man, this is like you're saying. I'm losing money. I just sold a litter. Like around the time we did the last interview, actually, I had a litter on the ground, I believe. And thankfully, I was able to, I kept the dogs that I saw a future with, that I saw as prospects, the ones that I wanted to hold back. I held back 5 puppies. The rest of them, it was a litter of 12. The rest of them I sold, no problem. And honestly, I made no profit on that. I basically just made some money back to give me time to breathe, and kind of like, okay, I made some money back, some of these expenses now that I can pay off some of the stuff that I had on the back burner, and buy a new kennel so I can have these these extra dogs now. It all just goes back to the dogs. It takes years. It takes years if you stick to it that long. Like I said, I would say 90% of people that want to get into breeding to make money are out of it before they see any profit. So the people that do stick to it, usually they have a strong reason why they're doing it. Something that keeps them going past all the hurdles, the freaking heartache, the headaches. And it's going to take years before. I think you've touched on it before in other interviews. I think I've heard you talk about that. It takes years before a kennel gets strong enough of a name that people are coming to you consistently, seeking out, your line of dogs specifically. And you start to kind of, at that point, after many years of line breeding and doing something that actually stands aside from the rest of the pack, maybe you can start seeing a little bit of profit.
Yeah.
But I mean, how many years are you going to lose, like you said, where you could be making money, you know, doing a bunch of other things?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
In my own job, I don't do overtime anymore. I used to do overtime before I got into this.
Right.
You know, and I was saving money. I was able to, you know, see my piggy bank, you know, get fatter and fatter. Ever since I got into, you know, working with the dogs, I rarely do overtime, man, because all of my time, as soon as I'm off the clock at work, I'm on the clock at home with the dogs.
Right.
But again, I love it. You know, I'm not just breeding just for the sake of, you know, just selling puppies every once in a while. I have a reason to breed the Cane Corso, and not just them. I'm trying to breed my own line of cur dogs as well, because why not? You know, like, you know, that's part of when you get into this hunting game. Eventually, it's like anything else. You realize that if you know, like the old saying, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Man, that's how it is with dogs. You know, people, no matter the breed, no matter what you're looking for what purpose, people are going to sell you the moon that they got it.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I got what you're looking for. And few times is that the case, you know.
Yeah.
1 out of 10 times they'll actually give you something that's what you were hoping for or looking to buy. So I'm actually, while I'm doing my Corsos, I'm also trying to, you know, breed a line of cur dogs that are consistently producing what we need out there in the woods, you know, finding these wild hogs, because that's a big part of what we do. The
Right.
Corsos are there at the end, you know, they get the glory because they're doing the fighting. They're the ones, you know, the gladiators in the end that come and you get to, you know, see the cool fight and, you know, grabbing onto the boar. So that's like the most glorified moment. But there's a lot of work that goes into hunting before you get to that point. And without these cur dogs, that wouldn't even be, you know, we'd catch probably 5% of what we would normally catch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's funny, like talking about the business end of it. You know, I think that's why I'm so back and forth, man. Like, you know, there's seasons where I'm just so, you know, imaginative on what I could do as far as breedings, but then after a certain period of time, I always snap back to this other reality of, yeah, but that's going to be a financial money pit, you know.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I say, you know, it's not that I'll never breed, but like in all reality, it's not a profitable game. And I'm a person who, you know, I don't hide the fact that I like money. I like making money. So when I put, you know, the hours I have available in the day, you know, we all have 24 hours and we sleep 6 to 10 of them depending on who you are. You know, it's like, how much could you really accomplish in that time? It's either chase your hobby, which you want to do, that makes you happy, and that's cool, or chase the money. You know, I guess it all depends on how you define success.
Yeah. So I'm kind of trying to dance, you know, in between both lines. You know, I'm really loving working with the dogs, but even that is also a money pit. You know, that takes money as well. People don't realize that you don't just, you know, anything in this country takes money, man. There's nothing for free anymore.
Right.
I'm blessed enough that I have property where I'm allowed to hunt a lot of acres, actually. Because nowadays, especially here where I live in Southwest Florida, you know, hog hunting is a big part of the community in Florida. It's been a thing for many generations here. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Florida is probably one of the first places, if not the first place, where they brought over the pigs that eventually, you know, went wild or were released, and of course they go wild pretty quickly and procreate and become a big problem. And I believe it all started in Florida with the Spanish that brought them over, because they're a great food source and they're easy and they procreate like crazy. So it makes sense. The problem is controlling it when the population starts growing. almost impossible to control after that. So they've always been a nuisance here. They've always been causing issues here. A lot of damage to our, not just our farmlands, which, Florida has a lot of that, but also our native species. They've suffered a lot. In fact, there's species that have gone extinct because of wild hogs, because of invasive, like the python. A lot of people know about the python problem down here in South Florida that we have. All of those invasive species, they cause so much damage when they don't have a natural predator. Mm-hmm. Now hogs, they do have predators here. We got panthers. We got the Florida panther, but there's just so few of them. And these wild hogs, they start procreating when they're 6 months old. They already start procreating, and basically like twice a year they'll have litters, which can be just like dogs. Can be range from anywhere from 4 piglets to freaking 15. Mm-hmm. And imagine then you got 12 piglets. In 6 months, those piglets are going to start having piglets.
Right.
So it's crazy how it can get out of control so quickly, and they destroy everything in their path. But as far as the breeding as a business, man, it's I guess in any business you do, you really need a strong why. Like, why are you doing this? Because that's what's going to push you. When you reach, because I guarantee you're going to reach a moment where you're going to hit a wall, you're going to hit an obstacle, something did not work out, especially someone like you and me, that we're not just breeding puppies just to sell puppies. We want to breed quality. We want to breed a dog that has a purpose, that's going to work, that's going to fulfill a need. Mm-hmm. So that makes it even harder, because you're going to have dogs that might not be what you were hoping for. And now that's going to test not only your wallet, because now the plans that you had of maybe keeping back, another female, but this female sucks. Now you're going to lose money on that. Those plans you had in 2 years, you're going to breed this female. Nope, gone. Now you got to wait. That's another thing. Everything is waiting months and years with dogs,
Right.
So that's gonna test your wallet, and it's gonna test your integrity. Because what happens in this breeding game is most breeders are gonna find themselves in that situation, and a lot of them are gonna say, you know what, I'm not gonna freaking wait another year to have a chance that another puppy might turn out good. What if it doesn't? Then what? I gotta wait another year, like I'm just losing years here.
Yeah.
And I'm spending money in the meantime. Screw that. I'm gonna breed this dog. Mm-hmm. And so when you're doing it for the right reasons, man, it's extremely difficult to get rich off of it. Like I would definitely not. If you want to get rich of it, do something else. Just have a few litters here and there every once in a while, and do it that way. But definitely wouldn't quit my day job if that was the plan.
Right. So how close are you willing to breed?
I'm all for, me specifically, and again, like I said in the first interview, I am no expert when it comes to breeding. I'm new to breeding, but I have been around working dog people forever. I've always been fascinated by that, so I know those people. I know those communities, that have nothing but the freaking, clothes on their back, as they say, and use dogs to work, to hunt, etc. Like I said, that's a big thing in Florida here, and I've picked a lot of brains, so I've gotten a lot of information. I've gathered a lot of information for people that do have experience in that. I mentioned in the last interview, you've had people on here that are just phenomenal to pick for information when it comes to breeding. So what I'm going to say is just my own personal opinion. Anyone that's listening, go listen to some of those other interviews, people that are far more experienced than me when it comes to breeding, especially some of the pit bull guys that you've had on, phenomenal stuff. But my plan with my Corsos is I want to eventually start to line breed what I have that has worked out. And eventually I would do a little bit of inbreeding here and there. probably the closest I feel comfortable doing is maybe a mother to son or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly line breeding. I'm a little wary with inbreeding too heavily, especially with the Corso, because there's too many unknowns and there's too many hidden secrets within this breed. There's health concerns. One specifically that scares all serious breeders in the Corso community is epilepsy.
Mm.
That is something that creeps up every now and then in dogs, and unfortunately, there's no test right now as of yet that you can do to, like, right now they just came out with a test for DSRA. You can DNA test for that now, which is awesome, because that's another thing that's horrible when it happens. So now you can actually DNA test your dog before you breed them to make sure that they're not a carrier or are not affected, going to infect DSRA in the litter. So that would be fantastic if they can get to epilepsy one day. But as of now, there's no test. There's nothing that can, let you know, hey, this line carries it, that dog carries it, that dog's infected by it. There's nothing like that. So, and breeders won't tell you. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of secrets. There's a lot of stuff that's kept, in the closet. So when you inbreed closely like that, you need to make damn sure that you know what's inside that background, genetically. I mean, what's behind that DNA of that dog, because everything is going to come out. And once you start inbreeding heavily, the good and the bad is going to come out. So that's one thing that kind of worries me about doing that too soon. So I have no hurry. I know might take me a little longer to get where I want to get, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. I'd rather do it cautiously, make sure that, okay, I got, these two females that worked out awesome. Let's see how the litter works out, and then from there I might do a little, line breeding with a similar bloodline that comes from either of my two females. And, just each litter, basically, I'm going to have to wait at least 2 years to see not just their physical traits, their temperament when it comes to, are they what I am looking for in a guard dog, in a catch dog? Are they fearless? Are they, running towards danger and not tucking tail and running away from it? Not only all of those temperament traits that I need in my program, but also the health. I need to give them time to grow and develop at least 2 years to make sure, at least as much as possible, that all the boxes check. So eventually I want to get to that point where I would love to get to that point where I can do some inbreeding within my own lines, do some, father and daughter or mother and but for now, to be honest with you, I don't see that happening anytime soon, which is one of the big challenges that I have in my program, for the goals that I have, is that it's going to be a slow process. Basically, I'm still in the outcrossing part of it right now. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit of, flipping a coin and seeing if I get lucky or not.
Sure. Now, here's a big debate among a lot of breeders, and I want your take on it. Do you believe in skipping heat cycles or no?
Yeah, I've heard people argue that both ways. That one's easy for me only because, again, I work with these dogs, so I already know what my answer is. But it's not. Again, I'm gonna tell your audience it's not because I'm saying that's the best way, that's the only way, that's the right way. This is how I'm going to do it because it's the way that it works for me and it makes sense for me. I plan on skipping heat cycles because these dogs are working dogs. And whenever I don't have my, like, for example, if I can't use Ursa, like I'm hoping she comes into heat soon because I do want to breed her as soon as she comes into heat now. Mm-hmm. But I'm already like, damn, what am I gonna do when Ursa is, when I breed her? That's gonna be, right now she's my best catch dog. I can count on her. And people gotta understand, a catch dog, when it comes to, these wild boar where we hunt, they save your dog. And they can save your skin as well. But they'll definitely save your dogs consistently. Without a good catch dog, every single dog in that pack is in much greater danger of being killed and not coming home, that day. So not having her after I've trained her, after I know what she's going to do, after I trust her, you build a trust with all your dogs, but especially the Corso, whose job is to catch and hold on to that beast. There's times that I go in there, man, and you can't see when it's inside the sugar canes where it's really thick, and you literally can't see 4 feet in front of you. There's times I've gone in there and the fight is going on. You hear all the ruffling and you hear all the grunting and the dogs, and it's a battle going on, and it's a big boar because that sucker's moving all of that under there a lot, and you can hear it when it's a big one. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you'll see a dog come out limping, and like, oh Lord, oh my God, you can see the boar right in front of you. You don't know which way the head is, which way the leg is. That catch dog in that moment is, you have to trust in your catch dog because you're going to go in blind basically. And if it lets go when you're on that boar and you have nowhere to run, nowhere to move, you're basically stuck in there with that boar and with the dogs. If it lets go in that moment, you are screwed. You're probably not going to have a good day. So to lose that, I'm saying all that just to bring it back to your question. For me to lose that is significant. It's super significant. It's more than just a matter of, what's in the argument that we always hear, what's better for the dog, as far as skipping a heat cycle or not. For me, it's even more than that. It's the fact that I can't afford to breed her back to back. I can't afford to breed my best catch dogs back to back. Mm-hmm. That's a whole year that I won't have, one of the most important dogs in my pack as far as making sure everybody comes home alive. So even breeding them once, it's like, I hope we got to make this breeding count because, I'm giving up this dog for a while to get something good out of it for our future. Mm-hmm. But yeah, in my case specifically, I'm definitely skipping heat cycles. Right. But again, as far as health-wise, which is correct and, which is better for the dog health-wise, I really can't. I'd be lying to you if I told you one way or the other. I've heard, just like you, both arguments. Yeah. I gotcha. So we might have touched on this a little bit before, but I just kind of wanted to get your take on it. What do you do as far as health testing? As far as health testing, I do DNA testing. For me, that's one of my favorite ones. Like I said, they can test for DSRA now as well, mm-hmm. which that's huge. And you can play around. You now have the ability to see which dogs carry what in their genetics. Which ones are carriers, which ones are infected, which ones are completely clean. So you can actually play around. You can match make correctly to maybe you can use a dog that has all the awesome criteria that you're looking for that you need. Let's say for a stud, and he might be a carrier of something, but that a female that you have, the line she comes from, you get her tested anyway to be sure it's safe from it. So once you put them two together, that's not going to create an issue. The way it works is going to basically create a litter of puppies that are going to be completely safe, that are not going to carry anything. And then you might have some that have a percent chance that they'll just be a carrier, but they won't have, whatever disease or whatever ailment. So it allows you to see that and play around with it. Especially if you're line breeding and inbreeding, that's huge, because you're going to avoid, breeding unhealthy, sickly dogs. It really helps a lot, especially when you get to that point of line breeding and inbreeding. And then other than that, I do hip testing. And that's really it. That's really all I care about, honestly.
Okay. Now, I know we've talked about this before briefly, but I wanted to touch on this again too, and that is, when you're looking at a litter of puppies, or you're choosing from a litter of puppies, tell me a little bit more about what you're looking for in the puppy, and then what is the process as that pup grows to know whether or not it'll make a good hog dog.
The first things that I start to notice, and because at that early of an age, everything can change. Nothing is written on stone, especially with the Cane Corso. They develop slowly. They're not going to be really, the dog they're going to finally be until they're 2 to 3 years old. But as far as their confidence is one thing I've noticed, you can start to see early on. You can see the ones that are more confident, the ones that are a little more skittish. You can see which ones are more, show more curiosity to the world around them. Something drops on the floor, and they'll be the ones that might jump a little, as is natural, because it spooked them. But instead of cowering away in a corner, hey, what was that? Let me go check that out. And they'll cautiously approach and go check out that object that fell down. Little things like that I'm looking at constantly. And then I'll notice which ones act that way all the time. That's probably one that I'm gonna write that down in my memory. Okay, that dog, such and such color, he's showing these traits. I like that. So, and that was one of the main traits that I did start seeing early on with my Corsos. The ones that were more confident, that showed more confidence, because that's gonna be huge, man. If they grow up and they don't have confidence, they're not gonna be a good catch dog or a good guard dog. Well, both. I mean, being a good guard dog and being a good catch dog, I've also noticed it's almost like the same attributes that you need for both. That's why historically, throughout different cultures and different parts of the world, dogs that are used as catch dogs that make great, fearless catch dogs are usually the same dogs that they take home afterwards and is guarding the property, guarding the homestead. So yeah, confidence was a huge attribute that you can't teach either. If they don't have confidence, I mean, you can work on it, you can help them, but more times than not, when you put them against a real test, and I went over this before in the last interview, what we do is as real as it gets. When they're faced against a wild boar that wants to kill them, and is twice their size, 3 times their size, 5 times their weight, they know it's a life and death situation. The dogs instinctively know this. And the truth is going to come out, and you might have worked on that dog's confidence and fooled yourself that, I got his confidence up because I, played tug of war with him and I let him win every once in a while, and now he thinks he's a badass, so his confidence is good. Oh man, it's easy to, for people to trick themselves when they don't actually test their dog, because they can seem like a badass at home with certain things that were done to, help build the dog, but in reality it's just covering, even for yourself as a breeder, sometimes the underlying issue that's behind all that.
Right.
And when the dog is really tested, whether it be a beast or man, a real man threat, it's eye opening, and it's very disappointing sometimes. A lot of times.
Well,
So
that
confidence
actually,
is huge. That's to answer your question. Sorry. The main thing at an early puppy age before they go home that I look at is that confidence. Which ones seem to be more confident? And luckily, that's one of the traits that they kind of do start showing you early on. And again, it's the best you can do because it can change. It's not written on stone. In fact, one of the females that I kept back 4 females. I wasn't planning on it, but I'm like, this is my first litter with Siren, who's my best dog by far. Best catch dog I've ever seen, period. Put her up against any breed, pit bull, whatever. And I wanted to, even if I lost money on it, if I couldn't sell them later when they're older, I didn't care. If I could keep them all, even better. But I kept back 4 females and just 1 male. And one of the females that I kept back, her confidence was a little questionable. It wasn't bad, but out of the other 3 females, hers was a little bit questionable. But she showed me enough of other good traits. Like, she seemed to have good prey drive for her age. She was the smallest female, but she was a little badass. Like, she was beating everybody up, even though she was the smallest. So she was showing me other things that I'm like, man, there's things that I see in her that's kind of like her mom. Like, the only thing is that the confidence in her is not as strong, I'm noticing, as the other 3, but screw it, I'm going to keep her back also. Let's see. And you know what? Now, a few months later, right now they're 5 months and a week, or 5.5 months. And that girl is probably my highest confidence of the females that I kept back. Luckily, they're all still. I rehomed one of them. That really, I already know it's not gonna make the cut. So I recently rehomed her. So I'm left now with 3 females of the 4, and those 3 fantastic. But that one that turned out was the most questionable as far as confidence. Now it's probably the most confident female. So there you go. You never know for sure.
Gotcha. Now, okay, to dig a little deeper on that, do you think a Corso is naturally protective, even if it doesn't make a good hog dog?
Yes, that can definitely happen. That's definitely a possibility. In fact, I'm curious to see if that happens with my male that I kept back. Because one reason I kept this male is not because he showed me anything that's going to make him a great hunting dog. I love the defensive drive that I see in him very early on. I mean, this puppy is growling and barking, hair coming up on his back at anything strange that approaches. And he's been that way from, early on, man. And he's still that way right now to this day. I had my parents visit the other day, and he just heard the car outside, and he heard them, trying to open the door, which was locked. I had to go and lock it. But in the meantime, he's charging at the door. He's only 5.5 months. He's charging at the door, hackles up. Like, geez, I might have to work on him, if anything, to make him a little more, chill out a little bit. But I love that defense drive in him. However, the stuff that I like to see for a catch dog, a hunting dog, it's up in the air. We'll see. I'm not sure. But if he continues to have that awesome defense drive and makes a perfect, I'm going to train him a little bit. I'm probably going to train him a little bit to do a little agitation work and stuff like that, to probably have him as my indoor guard dog. And if he's a great guard dog, but he's really not a great catch dog, you know what? He's still a good dog. I'll probably still keep him in my house. So he's gonna earn his place on the table, so to speak. Because that's really what most people are in need of anyway.
Right.
You know, is a good guard dog, including myself. You know, when I first got into the Cane Corso, was mostly for that. Not mostly, it was for that. I wasn't even hunting with my own dogs back then yet. So yeah, it can definitely happen. I've seen that happen. I've seen catch dog breeds that, you know, don't know how to freaking catch and hold.
Right.
But at home they're great. They're freaking, fearless. Very high defense, civil guard dog. So
Right.
that's definitely something that can happen. And yeah, I'm curious to see how it unfolds with my male, because that might be the case with him.
Here's an interesting question that can kind of stem from that, and one that I've been asking people lately. Do you believe that dogs, and I mean this very plainly when I say it, do you believe dogs can sense evil?
I can't answer that like I know for certain, but I think they do have another sense, that we don't understand, that we don't know, because I don't know if you remember when I told you about Radar, my male Cane Corso that didn't make the program. He didn't really have the attributes that I'm looking for. He was not a good hunting. I mean, he loved to hunt. He loved being a part of the pack and running with them and chasing. But when he was faced with an actual big dangerous boar, he wouldn't do what he's supposed to. He'd be like the cur dogs, just start barking at it. Like, all right, somebody else get it. I'm not gonna die doing this, So he didn't make my program. At home, I never really saw like high defense drive either, like I was just saying about my male puppy I have now. So, he was more like a golden retriever, temperament wise and all that. Just friendly dog. You can come for the first time to our house and he's going to be wagging his little, short stub, happy to see you. Just a friendly dog, man. Not at all what you would expect from a Corso. Even though I did highly socialize him, back then, which was, in hindsight, I wanted to socialize him a lot for certain reasons, but I probably overdid it. But even so, he should not be as friendly as he was. It was ridiculous. Like, he was just a labradoodle,
Right.
But I remember there's one occasion with my wife where she told me about it. I was with her, but I had stepped away. I don't remember for what. I had stepped away, and it was at the park. And when I came back, she told me what happened. Some weird guy. She described the guy. I don't remember the details now, but he was weird. There was something off about him, even to her. She's very trusting of people, more so than me. So if he came off with a weird vibe to her, I know definitely. And she told me she had to hold on so tight to Radar because his, hackles came up and he was right in front of her just going crazy on this man, like trying to tear him to pieces. She had to like hold him and call him off several times. And I'm telling you, this is a dog that I never even seen bark at a person at that point.
Right.
So there's moments like that make you wonder, like, what did that, and there was another occasion with me, that time was with me, where he did the same thing, and it was at night, it was in the dark, it was a weird, they weren't bad people, in fact, they ended up becoming friends later, but at the time, they were unknown, it was in the dark, they were approaching the car, and it was in a very weird way, the way they approached, and it makes you wonder if they do sometimes sense something, because for a dog to act completely out of character like that, I've seen strangers approach them a million times. So it's not because it was a stranger. There was something about that instance with my wife that he sensed something in that individual that he said, you are not allowed to get any closer. So what do you think?
I don't know. I've seen instances where the one that pops into my head is I had this dog at one point. Her name was Precious, a little fawn dog. She was a mutt. You know, she was like boxer crossed with like a game dog. And she was always just a big wiggle butt. Like, she was just cool with everybody. But there was this one friend of mine in particular, and I don't know why. I had no clue why. She used to, like, he'd come over, he'd sit on the couch, we'd be, you know, smoking a blunt, whatever. And she would just, like, walk up to him, get up, like, in a sitting up position with her front paws off the ground, inches from his face, and just start snarling and barking. Like, if you move, I'm gonna fucking hurt you. And I had no clue why. I used to have to snatch her up, like, what is wrong with you? I never understood it. She didn't act that way with anybody else. And funny enough, later on, he just started acting kind of shady. Just like to the point where I didn't trust him in my house anymore. So it's really strange that took place. So it tells me, based on that, and I mean, there's been other instances with other dogs, but that one pops into my head the most. And it does make me think that, you know, maybe there's a certain energy or aura or something that they can see that we can't. But I don't know the science to back it or anything. It just seems like a good for conversation. But it's like, you know, I've always wondered that, like, do you think maybe, you know, like.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I've had instances like that with, you know, where it's completely out of character, like I just said with Radar. Same thing.
Reaper, the dog I have now, the one I kept from my litter, he acts like, I mean, I'm transparent, I don't care who knows what. He acts like he lacks a lot of confidence. If he doesn't know something, he'll like kind of be weird about approaching it. It could be a random object that he's never seen. But there's been
he'll approach very cautiously, kind of slow, kind of stretching his body out, stuff like that. Yeah,
exactly. But then there was this guy walking down the street. It was dark out. It was in this past winter, so it was like Reaper was only probably 9 months old or something like that, 8 months old. I don't know exactly, but he was trying to rush the dude. Like, the guy was wearing a hoodie, a jacket, had his hood up, and had a ball cap on, but you couldn't see his face at all. He's just, hey, how's it going? Nice dogs. And he was walking past the house, and Reaper just flipped shit. I mean, like, just lunged forward to the point where, I mean, he's half boreable, so I mean, he's got good size to him even at 8 months. And he's, like, pulling with everything he has to try to get over to see that dude. So there's moments where I doubt Reaper, you know, where I say, I don't know, man.
How old is he?
He just turned a year old last week.
Oh, dude. Yeah, so, yeah, I was waiting for you to finish, but I was going to tell you that's kind of a normal trait in guard dogs. You know, sometimes people see that as cowardly, like, oh, maybe the dog's cowardly, maybe he, like you said, maybe he doesn't have confidence. And definitely the confidence is still building, because it's going to continue to improve as they get older. Once they're fully mature, that's when you're really going to see where they're at. Right. Confidence is one of those things that will oftentimes continue to improve as well with their maturity. But what I was going to say is it's not uncommon for these guard breeds, like you just told me he's Borbal. Corsos are similar as well, where, you know, things that are new to them, things that are strange, they'll approach very cautiously like that. That's why I was describing it to you, because I've seen that in many Corsos. It's a very consistent trait in not just them, but in other guard breeds as well.
Well, and also, like, I was not to cut you off, but also, like, when we're playing, like, I don't hold back with him. You know, I'm really rough when I play with him, and he's not timid at all. We literally have slap boxing matches to where, like, you know, I'm talking shit to him, you ain't so tough, and I slam his ass, you know, on his side, and then he jumps back up and tries to jump on me. He's not timid. It's just like there was some, for example, I walked him back into the house after I took him out, and there was some stuff moved around in the living room, so there was a 5-gallon bucket with some gardening tools sticking out of it.
Right.
And he was like, it seemed timid to me. You know what I mean? Because he just like approached it very slowly, and I'm like.
But again, that's what I'm talking about. That's very natural. That's very common with these guard breeds, with the Borbo, with the Cane Corso.
Okay.
In fact, I think, and this is not something that again I got any science to back it up or that I've read from some super smart person. This is just from my own observations. I actually wonder, and I believe from what I've seen, that those same little traits that make them so overly cautious to the point where it almost makes them seem like they lack confidence, or they might be a little too scared of new things and obstacles, and sometimes it's BS, like you just said, like a hose that's just sticking out, but it's new to the dog. He has no, that thing was not there yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of times I think once they do fully develop and they're fully mature, that same trait that made him that way when he was growing up as a puppy is going to make them a beast of a guard dog. Because now that confidence is at full blast. It's at 100%. If they are confident, there is the chance they're not, but I'm talking about when they fully mature and they do grow into their confidence. Some of the best, most ferocious guard dogs that is no joke, is not playing. He will, bite the hand of the intruder that tries to, step inside your place. Sometimes they were like that growing up, overly cautious, very, unsure of anything that was different or new in their environment. Mm-hmm. And I think it's almost just a trait, a part of a lot of these guarding breeds. Mm. Those same things that make them, standoffish with anything different in their environment that doesn't belong there. That's also what's going to make him probably a phenomenal guard dog if he does have the confidence to back it up.
Yeah, but I
mean, don't let that discourage you. He just needs the time to mature, and then you'll bring him over here. We'll take him hog hunting, and that's going to tell you a lot more about him.
Right. Yeah. So, tell me a little more, because I was actually definitely considering coming out there once I get my shit together, just to hang out with you, check it out, see what I could do with them. But what? Tell me a little more about the process. Like, how would you start a dog? You mentioned before, like 18 months, something like that.
I don't really put an exact age on it. You said he just turned a year. Like he's already perfect age to get introduced to it. Mm-hmm. But every dog is different. So that's why I don't put an exact age on it. I've had dogs that turned on as early as 5 months old. Mm-hmm. Can't take them hunting because they're way too young, so you can't fully let them go. But there are some dogs that that are just freaking like just crazy natural phenom. It's not the norm; it's the exception. Mm-hmm. And then there's dogs that could be from the same litter. And they don't. Which in fact, I'll use that same example. I'm thinking of when I said that of a dog that I lost. Mm-hmm. Hunting. His name was Sonar. He wasn't a Corso. He was one of my bay dogs, one of my cur dogs. At 5.5 months old, he found his first pig in the woods. Mm-hmm. And you know what? When the first day I took him, he seemed insecure. Second week, I took him again. He found a pig, and he was just hooked on it after that. Mm. By 8 months old, he was the best dog that we had, even compared to dogs that were 4 or 5 years old doing it already.
Really?
Yeah, just a phenom. My main helping hand. People that watch my hunting videos on YouTube, the guy that's always with me in every single video, he's always with me. That man's been hunting with dogs longer than I've been alive. So everything I know, I've learned with him, and you can imagine how many dogs he's had, come and gone. Mm-hmm. And he put Sonar up there in the best dogs he's ever seen. He was just a natural phenom, man. That's not something that you can even inbreed that all you want. It's still gonna be just one in 1,000 type of deal.
Mm.
But his sister, who's a great hunting dog, I still have her. We still use her. Her name's Mulata. She's still in my videos. She didn't turn on until she she didn't actually really get good until she was almost 2 years old.
Mm.
She really started to, she got a few pigs before that here and there, but really consistently do good. She was about 2 years old. Same litter, so I don't put an age on it. But knowing the breed that he's composed of, I'm talking about your dog. A year, man. Anytime that you want to come, he's old enough. He's already got the size. He's already got muscle filled in. Obviously, he's still maturing, so I'm not saying he's complete. He won't be complete, for another year and a half probably. But he's definitely mature enough, big enough. He'll be safe. He'll be safe. Well, so as far as the process, speaking of, definitely gonna keep your dog safe. I bring a lot of people with me actually that like to try out their dogs, see what their dogs are made of. I get people that reach out to me privately for that, and I, depending on how I feel about the person, because I don't bring just anybody. I've brought several people. I've brought people with Presa Canarios. I've brought people with Dogo Argentino. Other Cane Corso, just one other Cane Corso. Pit bulls. I brought a few game bred pit bulls, and one of my buddies that has a weight pulling pit bull. So, knowing what I know about the breed, the Borbal, and he's like a bully, the old bully pit types, right? Like closer to...
Yeah, closer to a pit bull. I registered for the BBF. I registered his mother as an American pit bulldog.
Yeah, I love that mix, by the way. He's already a year old. At any point from here on out, whenever you can come here and you wanna do that, you wanna test him, introduce him slowly, he's ready. He'll be ready for that.
All right, yeah, we can. We can definitely set that up because I need to.
I'm not going to throw him into the wolves right off the bat. So the way I do it with people bringing their dogs in, I've never had anybody else's dog die, get killed, or even seriously hurt. First day, first time, first 2 or 3 pigs, he's just gonna observe. He's just gonna watch the dogs work. I believe all dogs have that hunting instinct inside. Obviously, some and some it comes out, and they're able to be part of the hunt and produce, and others don't. But they all like to watch that I have yet to see a dog, even the ones that haven't done crap, that haven't done good at all, but every single one of them loves to be a part of it. They love to watch. They're fascinated. In the beginning, he might be shocked. Don't expect him to want to do anything the first time. He's just going to be an observer. He's just going to see the dogs work. He's going to be downloading information that first time. By the second, third, you're probably, again, just considering the breeds that he's got in his DNA, you're probably going to see him want to participate. And he might shock you. He might even want to participate the first time.
Right.
From the get-go, you never know. So we'll have to basically just bring him, let him watch the dogs work. That's all we're going to do. You're going to have him, held on a leash so he's safe. And we're going to let him watch the dogs work before I tie up the hog real quick and all that I do. We'll let him watch real quick and observe. And he'll let you know. That dog will talk to you like he's a human without using human words. Well, once you're there, man, I tell people all the time, it's a beautiful thing. When you're into dogs and you love being around your dog and playing with your dog, this is like just another level, man. You get to know your dog in such a deep way that it's hard to explain to anybody.
Right.
You get to a point like I was with Siren, where that was my red female that had the litter. you get to a point where I would look at her. Sometimes I couldn't talk because, there's like a boar nearby, and the moment I talk, he's going to take off. There goes our chance. I could look at her from a distance, and I could have her, because she was a catch dog, but I could use her as a running catch dog, or I could have her stay at the truck, and I would tell her stay, and not even have her on a leash or anything. I'd leave her, loose. I'd have her ready in case I do need her. But she wouldn't get off that truck. She would stay on the bed of that truck. And from a distance, if I needed her, I could hand signal her. And she would know. She would just understand me. We had such a deep connection from all the hunts that we've been on. And she would jump off the truck and come. Now, also in the, just as impressive, or even more impressive, I think, is I could, same scenario, which I've had happen. I even have videos, I believe some videos of this happening, where she would be in the truck, same scenario, not tied to anything, and the dogs get a hog nearby, and the hog is screaming, the dogs are barking, it's crazy. Although that prey drive is, at 1,000%, every dog wants to, jump into the hunt. And I tell her stay, or just hand signal her. Again, if I'm far, I don't even have to speak. I just hand signal. I never trained her for that, man. That's what that's the impressive thing. I never trained her for hand signals. This is something we developed together, hunting together and going through things together, failure, success, all of it. And that dog would not move from the bed of the truck. She would just watch and stay there and let us do our thing. And I bring the pig tied, put it right next to her. She wouldn't touch it. She'd leave it alone. She knew it was already tied. The job is done. So you get, working with these dogs, man, you get such a deeper relationship with them that it's hard to put into words. It's hard to explain. So whenever we lose a dog, I posted a video of one dog that we lost once, and if you see that video and read the comments, it's as you can imagine, I get so much hate, and and I don't love my dogs. This is all BS. We don't care about our dogs. If people only understood, man, when we lose a dog, it's like losing a freaking child, because that dog has gone through wars with you. That dog has possibly saved your life. I don't know if you know this, but I actually lost Siren not too long ago.
Oh, no, I had no idea.
And I'll remember that dog forever, man. That dog, I can't say she saved my life 100% because I'm alive. The only way to know if she would save my life is if I freaking died, But it's kind of like in the pit bull community, the dead game dog, right? The only way to know you're a dead game dog is if you died. But she definitely saved my skin more than once. Definitely saved me from serious injury at the very least. That's another dog that was like, the way she was as a catch dog, that's another once in a lifetime type of dog. And losing her, man, people, everybody, it sucks for anyone that loses their pet. Everybody loves their dog. Pet people love their dog, obviously. But those that think that we, in the working community don't care when we lose a dog, that they're just a tool, that might be the case. I'm sure there are some assholes like that out there, of course, like in anything. But, I guess I'm speaking for myself only, that losing one of these working dogs is, hurts twice as much. Yeah. Because you've actually gone through real shit with them,
Yeah.
Sorry if I can't curse, man.
No, absolutely. We all curse here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I'm a terrible Christian.
but we're not to scare you, man. I'm not saying this stuff to scare you. She actually didn't even die from a boar. But we'll introduce him slowly. To get back to your original question with your dog, we'll introduce him slowly. I have cut vests of all sizes. That's another thing that people think. In the comment section, some people will, try to attack me all the time with that. Like, oh, you cheap bastard, why don't you buy them a vest? because they see my dogs are usually not wearing a cut vest. There's a reason for that. There's a very calculated reason I don't use vests, but it's not because I'm cheap. In fact, I have the best quality vest that money can buy, of all different sizes. So when you bring your dog, you don't even have to buy a vest. I'll have one that fits him. If you want to put it on him, it won't be necessary because, like I said, you'll be holding on to him. We won't let him do anything until we see, like, okay, he wants it. You know, he wants it. This hog, this boar is already controlled. It's safe anyway. Let him go. Let's see what he does. And then we'll take it step by step. It's a process, and we might get it done in one day, or it might take. That's why I told you, I believe last time we spoke, if you can take at least a week off to come a couple of days before you have to leave again, that would be best, just because you don't know, and one day you might get everything that you need out of that one hunt. But it's hunting, so you don't know what you're going to get that day. You might not get anything. We might come out empty-handed.
Right.
It's unlikely. We got some good dogs, so it's rare when we come out empty-handed, actually. But what we catch is completely random. We might not get a boar. We might just get a bunch of little females. They're not really going to test the dog. So if you can, just plan for a couple of days to come a couple of days, and I can't wait, bro. I would love to meet the dog, and give you that experience, because I actually love seeing people like you that love dogs, that much, see them in that kind of environment. It's a beautiful thing.